Hi, TCB. Thank you for joining me tonight. Can you hear me okay? And now we got TCB disconnected. So anyway, I guess I'll just start talking. Hi, Joanna. Thanks for joining. So tonight we're going to start talking about Brian Koberger and his attempt to rescind his his guilty plea. So a year ago, he pleaded guilty to four murder charges, and now, almost a year to the date, he wants to rescind his guilty plea in a post-conviction uh, plea appeal. So, um, so he, on July 22nd, which was almost a year to the date, he submitted this, and this is a petition. And so now here we are. This was on Monday. We find out about this. That's when it was kind of put into the docket for the public to find out about it. And now on Thursday, we're finding out as of yesterday that Judge Hippler did, in fact, grant him a public defender. So a lot of people are wondering, like, oh, does this mean that this case is moving forward? And you know, I want to tell you people that yes and no. I don't want people to get there like if your hopes are towards, oh, let's take him to, let's get a new trial. This is a good thing. Now we have a firing squad that, let's get a new trial. Well, if your hopes are for, in that direction and him getting granted a public defender, well then don't get your hopes up that much. And if your hopes are towards to the side of this isn't going anywhere, this means nothing, then yeah, then I'm on your side there. I still don't think that this really means that much. There's so many different, sides to this. There's so many different caveats and avenues. We have there was this one there was a one expert that was hired for the defense. So Ann Taylor hired him to help exonerate Brian Koberger in the end, right? During if this did go to trial, and his name was Cy Ray. And a lot of people were kind of anticipating, what is Cy Ray going to say? How is he going to help? This guy has, his accolades are just impressive, and this and that. And so many people were very interested once he um, gave, his side of his opinions to this case and what he was going to help Ann Taylor with, and that his opinions, how good, how much he was going to help this case along. But obviously it never went that far. So, as now this year has kind of progressed, Cy Ray has been giving his opinion throughout, little hearsay here and there, and little things that we've been finding out is Cy Ray is potentially releasing a book. We found one excerpt of this book. I don't have it in front of me right now, but it is very interesting. Some verbiage in this excerpt of this page of the book, I read that he says never once did he feel that Brian was innocent, and he was going to have a very hard time approving this and having his opinion on the defense side, and being brought on for the defense and having to give his honest opinion that Brian is maybe, innocent, but under his, with his own expert opinion and what he sees with his own eye and what he's reading and all that. He was just struggling so much with having to be on that end of the deal, on that side of this case. So moving forward with where we are today, as everybody might know, Brian Entin has been very much invested into this case, and he had Cy Ray on his show, and it aired this morning. He had Steve Gonzalez, Olivia Gonzalez, Christy Gonzalez. It was an amazing show. It was almost an hour and a half, and it was incredible. Honestly, I took some notes from it, and I would love to sit down and talk to Cy Ray. Like he just the amount of knowledge that is in this man's brain, and especially for this case, was impeccable. He one thing that kind of stood out for me, especially, is he mentioned that there was like the phones, the technology here. You know, we have the technology with the not only the victims' phones and their, you know, their cell phones, whatnot, but also we have the murderers, the suspect. Well, he's not a suspect anymore. He is actually the murderer. Um, his phone as well. And Cy kind of explained to us how there was a crossing of one of the victims' phones alongside with Brian Koberger's phones, and he called it like a collision of the technological collision of their cell phone activity. And he said that kind of the where that started was it started around I believe he said, I even wrote it down, oh, August 28th. So August 28th of 2022, that's when already, during this investigation, they've already noticed, as he mentioned, as he named it, this collision of these cell phones crossing, which means they were in a close enough vicinity with one another to have crossed paths. And where he mentioned this happened is, I believe, and I have to go back and double check, but I believe he said this happened at in Pullman. So we now know that, according to Cy Ray, and this has always been my opinion, but because of my position in this case and, you know, how long I've been invested in it, and, you know, I there's only so much I could always kind of share my knowledge on or talk about or whatnot, but Maddie was potentially, in fact, the main target. And if we continue to stick with that, and now with Cy Ray kind of adding to that knowledge that we've kind of held on to, or we're trying to see if that's factual or not throughout these years, and now we have somebody, you know, telling us a little bit more that could have been in fact the target here. Well, and then now we're going to learn that, you know, with the damage and the beatings that Kaylee received, it tells that story, how if he went there for his main target being Maddie, and then if Kaylee woke up and saw this monster attacking her best friend, well, yeah, it all makes sense that of course she wakes up and starts, you know, attacking and beating and you know, doing whatever she could to get this maniac off of her friend. And that could be very well why she was at the receiving end of so much, you know, angst and anger, and, you know, she got, you know, her teeth knocked out and her chest and this and that, because she foiled his perfect plan, and she came in the way of his perfect fantasy that he thought, with everything else on the line, he was potentially losing his job. He was, you know, it's now we're on the brink of Thanksgiving break. Everybody's going to be leaving. He's, you know, perhaps in his mind, he's thinking, I'm running out of time. And now I've got my perfect scenario. This is it. Everybody's off for this formal, for this game, for this and that. And now, you know, I've got her right where I want her. And he starts in on his perfect, you know, what he premeditated, because that's another thing that we have heard today, or, you know, in this report today. But somebody wakes up and is like, what are you doing here? And starts beating the crap out of him. And this is where this rage and anger comes, you know, spilling out of him, and perhaps a second weapon, which, you know, again, I never, you know, we never were told if there was or wasn't, because as we know, this never went to trial. So we don't know if there was a second weapon. There's a lot of questions if there was, but we don't know. But if there was, this is where I think it came into play. And what I think the second weapon is I think I think it was perhaps a taser, and I think he could have used either the opposite end of the sheath or the end of the taser to hit um, poor Kaylee in the face, because there was like some impressions on her that were like like zigzag, and that's the only thing we can kind of attest to that pattern. If for us to try to a process of elimination as to what this possibly could have been. And um yeah, so that, okay, so I don't want to lose my train of thought. So why he kind of took it out um on Kaylee at that moment. And then we have so how why so now why was there two more victims? Well, then we know that there was a dog present, right? There was Murphy. So perhaps this is where Murphy gets kind of, oh no, what's happened? What's all this chaos? And why is my mom screaming, right? And so perhaps this is where Murphy ran down the stairs, like, I need help. And maybe this is where Xana may have heard, or this is where Murphy may have ran towards Xana's room, and Xana could have been like, oh, hey buddy, you're in the wrong room. I'll take you where you need to go, and started to walk him up into the upstairs to, where Keely and Maddie's rooms were. And this is where she encountered the chaos, the commotion. And from what we have understood, we heard him saying, it's okay, I'm here to help you. We don't know if this is at the point he said it, because we also know that he had said it to Kaylee too. So we heard that maybe he said, it's okay, I'm here to help you, Kaylee. So we don't know for sure if this is maybe when he said it to Xana. We just don't know. But at this point, we do know that he started chasing after Xana, and chased her through the kitchen into her room. She was attacked on the floor, and I think she was yelling out for Ethan's name. And this is when Brian noticed, oh crap, there is a very large man in the bed, and this is what can totally take out my entire plan, and I can be busted. I need to take this guy out immediately. And that's why we saw the slashes in Ethan's legs, because I think Ethan started to move out of the bed, and Brian wanted to incapacitate him by taking his legs out, because if he has got those K-bar cuts to his legs, he's never going to be able to stand to knock him out, right? And so he that's why he cut his legs up and kind of took him out that way, and then maybe went up to his in the back to the artery over there to make sure that he you know was not going to move any further. And at this point, from our understanding from other reports, we think that Brian sat down for a second. He was gassed, and he got up, made eye contact with the other roommate. A lot of people say, well, why did he spare her? Well, because he could have seen a glow on her face. And how does he know that she's not calling 911? He's got this, I think, down to a minute. He needs to get out of there. He knows this isn't how he anticipated this. He didn't go in there to eliminate four people. He was in there for one person, and it all fell apart. And he needs to get out of there now. He doesn't know what this person with the glow on their face is going to do, but he also doesn't know how long that person has seen him for either, because he went down the stairs. So he doesn't know. So he needs to get out of there, which is why we know that in the video, we see him screeching out of there. He's not screeching in there. He's not in a rush to get in. He's in a rush to get out. So that's that. And so that's just kind of how I truly think that with the assessment with Cyray and what I've learned in the beginning, and a lot of us that have been close to this case, we've always kind of assumed that Maddie was in fact the original target.
I'm so sorry I'm late, Alina. I could not hear you. I couldn't hear you for the life of me.
That's okay. I couldn't figure out how to get this to connect.
I think I got it, hopefully.
Yeah. Christy says, I also think he thought Dylan was on the phone with 911. Exactly. And that's why I think that glow, like if she was holding the phone and it's all dark and he's walking by like a crack of a door like that, how, and he just sees like the light of her eyes because she says she did make eye contact with him. I mean, that would be anybody's first assumption is they're calling 911. If there's a phone in a hand, with glow or no glow, they're going to assume that they're calling authorities, right? Um, and so, and so here's the other thing, like we, when we get the PCA and when we find out that, this Brian Koberger is a suspect of these four brutal murders of these students, and we're hearing about, that he was in this area for, all these times. He kind of, not stalking, but like circulated. He was there, I think 22, 23 times. He connected to their towers so many times. He was here, he was there. Hey, Flojo, he's stopping in to say hi. And during, from the time where from pretty much when Brian Koberger moved to Pullman and was living in that vicinity up until when these murders occurred, they have all of these instances where he connects to the towers in that area, right? But then what they don't have, and then from when, the November 13th murders, and then up until December 30th, when he is actually arrested, what they don't have between those 6 weeks is they don't have him connecting at all, not once, that entire time. And if he's so smart, and if he's so, he's got this PhD and he's going for his criminology, and he's so smart in all of his, academics and this and that, you would think that he kind of would have thought that through, that, oh, shoot, I should make sure that I connect to these towers so I can continue to show these patterns, that I am just a regular person that belongs in this area no matter which time or day or week or month or year. This is just who I am. But here we go again to showing exactly that this is who Brian Koberger is. He only thinks about himself in that time, in that moment, and how that's going to satisfy just him right then. And patterns, patterns, patterns. I've said this for as long as I've ever been talking about true crime. And everybody else that follows true crime should know this too. Patterns are the answer to almost every case. You go by patterns. You go by, what was that person doing the day before? Do they typically do that? We go by their patterns. We go by this. We go by that. Do they do this normally? That's how we figure things out, right? And for him to want to have this notoriety of, I'm so smart and this is what I went to school for, but he still to this day hasn't realized that it's his own patterns that even back when he was an adolescent is what actually has been screwing him time and time again, from when he was, fighting with his parents over drugs, with his sisters over phones, stealing from his neighbors, everything. It was always the pattern of he didn't think about the circle around him and how it affected the dominoes and how they would fall. He only thought about himself and how that gratification can satisfy himself. And then he was like, I'll take care of the aftermath afterwards because I'm so smart. I got this. I got this. But the aftermath, he just disappears every time. When he was a heroin addict, he would just go to, what did he do then when he got caught? He went to rehab. He disappeared. He let everybody else deal with it. And then in rehab, he would think things through and he'd be like, okay, I think I got this. And then he'd be like, all right, I think I'm good. I don't need rehab anymore. I'm going to get out. And then he'd start his shenanigans again and again. And he'd try to do this again. And then he'd try to rob his neighbor's house better. And then when he'd get caught, what'd he do? He'd disappear. And where'd he go? Rehab or somewhere again. And he just continued this cycle continuously. Same with his parents when he stole his sister's phone. He was like, I'll go away. I'll go get help. Then when he said he's not going to be, you know, a drug addict anymore and he lost all this weight. Oh, but give me surgery. It's always like this deterrent. Change, you know, have, you know, the Fugazi. Look over here while he's, you know, doing one of these over there, you know. That's what he's doing with everybody, and he's doing it right now with this whole pulling the plea, and he's not thinking it through. It's the same thing. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Same thing every time.
absolutely. You know, with this post-conviction plea thing, I think he thought like he's going to be so smart on how he's going to, you know, pull this card right now, literally a year to the date, and now this Netflix documentary is coming out, but oh, nobody's going to pay attention to that because I'm doing this. But again, it's just another one of those situations where you didn't think it through, buddy, because nobody cares about you. You're an inmate in a prison like for life and plus 10 years. But at the same time, Netflix is gonna keep going and people are still gonna watch Netflix. They're still gonna look forward to it. And now you just made everybody want to watch that 100 million times more. You just gave their ratings what they were hoping they would be a year ago if this dropped. Thank you. That's what Netflix wants to say to you is thank you. You didn't think that through, now did you, buddy? You know? And then as for him not thinking through another thing, he named his family in this whole in that whole write-up. He said my immediate family was part of these meetings with Ann Taylor when I was being forced. Well, he thought he was going to get the audience is going to go, oh, you know, oh my God, I can't believe his immediate family just got wronged so badly, and everyone was going to go like, oh, Mo, you know. But no, that backfired on him too now, because what's going to happen is his immediate family's probably going to be like, whoa, Bri, hey, what are you doing? You can tick off the box for can I get a public defender? We can't. We can't do that. Now how are we gonna hire a lawyer for all this? How are we gonna get a legal counsel? How are we gonna defend ourselves that we were there or this was said or that wasn't said? We're gonna be deposed. We're gonna be questioned. We're gonna be hassled. People are gonna be knocking at our door. We're gonna be questioned. MSM, all this stuff, and all because you decided to throw us under the bus too? Thank you, but no. And again, just another example of him not thinking it through and only thinking about his own gratification and how it's going to backfire. And it probably already has. So, I don't know. Let's see. I have some questions here. Thank you everybody for joining, and please share the live and don't forget to subscribe. Let everybody know I'm here. Let's see, what questions do we have? He's the upcoming Keith Morrison. Who? Enton? Oh, I'm sure of it. Yeah, the drama over Dateline. Well, I mean, that's what the drama over Dateline is, what we kind of all assumed that the plea deal was formed from, was because they panicked that information, like there was a mole, and that's why we thought there was a plea deal, was because of that. Christy says you have to remember we went around the group saying we were. Yes, we were. Joanna says Cy confirmed the way a lot of us felt regarding the smiles between AT and BK. Yes, and touching him on the shoulder, calling him by his first name, etc. He said that their relationship was unhealthy. Yes, and I wonder how much she's regretting this now. And I'm sure a lot of us have seen her response to this, and how she said that something along the lines of, there was something said that the attorney-client privileges will be revoked, or will be, now she's going to speak on that or something. Just for people to know, that's yes, she'll be able to speak on conversations that they've had, but it's a very fine line. It's very narrow. It's not like she's going to you have an interview or you have some deposition and be like, do I have a story to tell you guys? Holy Toledo. Nothing like that's going to happen. She still has to honor her code of ethics and everything that she stands for by, that's what she went into law for. That's what she does, that's why she does what she does. She would never, I don't think she would ever just spill everything. Nobody would hire her. Come on. Um, let's see. Christy says, I also think he thought Dylan was on the phone with Night. Yes, I think so too. She was standing there with her phone lit up, and that's why he drove south and waited. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because his phone, his phone went back online at 4:48, but his phone didn't connect back to Pullman until 5:20 a.m. So he did drive for at least 40 minutes still. Natty says, and look at the first things he checked when his phone went back on. Yeah, he checked about the crime. Natty says, and I believe he was using more than one device. I agree that he was using more than one device, and I think we got proof of that because of when they had the discovery of the items that were in his apartment. I think I think there was extra Samsung boxes there. I'm pretty sure. Um, what other questions do we have? Okay, so let me just finish reading these. So Joanna says, do you think he told his dad on his trip to Pennsylvania? So that's a great question, Joanna. Honestly, like on his trip to, did you want to be on the stage, TCB, or do you want to just be in the background?
No, I did. I just was, it keeps going out. I'm sorry.
That's all right, don't worry about it. So Joanna asked if we think he talked to his dad about the crimes during his trip back to Pennsylvania. So that's a great question. And about,
I don't think so personally.
you don't?
I
If
don't.
he
I
did,
think,
his dad would be in a lot of trouble because then it's aiding and abetting and then, crossing state lines with a, a suspect for,
well, and I think that Brian is such a psychopath that that's just something he would keep to himself.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I'm sure, like, obviously, we know he was giving off signs that something was off with him, but I totally don't think that anyone knew.
Well, here's my take on it because his dad had to fly from Pennsylvania to Seattle. So it's from Pennsylvania all the way to Seattle. And there was bad weather. So his dad took that whole flight. I don't know where his layover was at this moment, but I had all in front of me at some point. So then he ends up, and his dad is older, right? We have to remember his dad's an older man, and I know he's got bad knees, and and he's flying out there to help his son. So he flies all the way across the country, and there's bad weather. And when he gets to Seattle, oh, actually, I think his flight was originally supposed to go to Pullman Airport, but because of the bad weather, they redirected him to the Seattle airport. And at this point, they told him they will not be able to get him over to Pullman because of the weather. He's going to have to spend the night in Seattle, and they will let him know the following day what the flights look like. That even the weather was so bad that at that point they couldn't even tell him if he will make it the following day or the day after. Like there was just no information at that point when he was going to make it over to Pullman. So he gets over to Seattle and he has to spend the night. We don't know. We do know that he was offered a hotel voucher, but we don't know if he used that hotel voucher. So we don't know. We do know that he got there very late at night to Seattle. So we're only assuming that he stayed in the airport because just from the information that we were given over time, our information tells us that he did stay at the airport, but we could be wrong. Okay. I'm giving this information because I want to kind of build the narrative of this older man who flew all the way across the country in bad weather and now he's staying overnight. And even if he stayed in a motel, so be it. But now he's back at the airport the very next morning to find out when he can get to his son. And he's back at the airport the very next morning. And he's talking to the attendants at the airport to find out when he can get over there. They get him on a flight, and so he gets over there, I think at like an 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. flight. And it's like an hour or so flight. So they finally get him on a flight. There's still kind of bad weather, but they get him over finally later that evening. And he gets over to Pullman. I think he lands at either 8:34 or 9:34 p.m. Okay. So he lands at 9:34, let's say p.m. the very next day. Again, this older man. And Brian, from our understanding, doesn't take his father home to shower or give him a healthy meal of some, spinach and fentanyls, not fentanyl. Oh my God, I don't know why I said that. And, I was just trying to say beans because he's a vegan. He doesn't do any of that. He picks his dad up from the airport and gets him right in the car. And I think he maybe even went to Spokane. I'm not even sure. Gets him right in the car and they start driving right back to Pennsylvania from Washington right away. Right away. Why? What's the urgency? Like, why can't your dad take a rest? Why can't he just, doesn't he need to shower? Is he hungry? Make him a sandwich, grab him a beer. But no, they get right at, he picks them up from the airport and they start driving immediately right back to Pennsylvania. What's the urgency?
Maybe the urgency is just his OCD, or at least that's what his dad thinks. But with Brian, his urgency, he has a different reason for it. But his dad just knows how Brian is.
Right? It could be. It could
Because
be.
didn't he have OCD?
What though? OCD of like what? And I'm just asking to, so people can understand what OCD would, just that he wants to get right back, like that he's eager, like that he's anxious.
Just like when you have OCD, like, and you know someone is coming and you know you're going home, it might be like an OCD thing. Like he may have planned it in his head a certain way, saying like, okay, my dad's going to get here and then we're going to go and get on the road and go home, especially knowing what he did and wanting to get out of there, especially in his car. He may have already had it planned in his head and made it urgent for his father. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, anything's a possibility. You're right. Anything is, but it's just we don't know if his dad, from everything that I've researched and we had other people research and look into, we were not able to find out for sure if his dad had checked luggage. All we could find is that perhaps he had a duffel bag, like a carry-on, which kind of would have added to the timeline of how long he expected to stay there versus I'm just gonna have an overnight bag because I know I'm getting right back as soon as Brian picks me up or just turning, right from the parking lot of the airport. We're going right back to Pennsylvania. I'm just flying over here to go right back to Pennsylvania, folks. Like, here we go. You know, that's what's kind of confusing is how his dad quickly just was okay with that. I speak from my own experience. Like my father has traveled across the country with me. I've moved here and there, and he would fly from New York to California, then to drive back. And my dad's around the same age, and my dad would never, especially after being stuck at the airport, and if I was like, it's 9:30 at night, and pick him up and say, all right, now from California, now just get in the car, now we're driving back to New York. My dad would be like, I, I mean, I would have one eye from how hard I'd get slapped, like that would not be okay. Like that's a disrespect. First of all, my father would need rest. Like what's going on? What's the urgency again? But okay, to each their own. I can't say just because my parents or family would do that means that they should, right? Again, to each
Yeah.
their own. But then when they get pulled over in Indiana, um, like it's just it kind of changes again because he's saying the police officer's like, so do you work at the college? And his dad kind of leans back and looks at him almost like he knew that if his dad almost leaned to, in my opinion, it's like his dad knew that if he lied, if Michael lied, then that incriminates himself. So he was like, I'm going to let you answer that because nothing that's been coming out of your mouth has been the truth thus far. So maybe if the cop asks you, we can get an honest answer out of you. So, hey, what's your answer on this one? You know,
Yeah.
at that point, Brian said, yes, I do work at the college.
Either that or like I don't know, maybe his dad just knew that he was a psychopath and I say that literally. I'm not making a joke. Like maybe his dad was afraid of him in some weird way.
Well, I mean, from the stories that we have heard prior, like with the family and the history with his sisters and having to like there was a situation where he stole his sister's phone because he was a drug addict and supposedly allegedly he stole his sister's phone and they were assuming he was going to sell it for drug money, right? And his father called the police to avoid an altercation. And and so here they say he called the police to avoid an altercation, but then at the same time, out of the other side of their mouths, his whole family wants to say he's never been physical. He doesn't have an angry bone in his body. But then we have all these other stories of these little things that he's done in the past, and but then they want to blame it. It's just this like narcissistic gaslighting kind of behaviors that it seems like everybody in their family has uh, some characteristics of. I don't know. They're all protective of it, and I don't blame them. It's their brother, but we have to realize that there's four people dead here, and we need answers. And protecting him just so you guys can have him home doesn't help anybody. Like, do they want this to happen again? And then what? What are they gonna say? Well, we didn't know. There's something wrong here. There's something deeply wrong.
Yeah, because you can still love your brother and not support them.
Right. Absolutely.
Like and not enable them.
Right. Absolutely. And
Especially when they've shown characteristics of the things that he has. And like knowing in the back of their mind because the sister had suspicions about him before, right?
um, not necessarily, no. From the way the story was kind of that came out during all this is that the sister could possibly have been one of the tips that was called in because um, his behaviors during the Christmas time and how he acted during the holiday and that was the same time the bolo came out for the white Hyundai and the way he was behaving because they would try to go out to dinners and stuff and he would asked to be put like when they were seated in restaurants, he I guess asked to be sat in the back of the restaurant or something. There were just like these weird red or maybe orange flags or yellow flags that she was just like, "What's wrong with you?" And to me that seems like those are not yellow flags. Those are bright red, on fire. You have the white Hyundai. Same location. He's going to school for criminology. This is right up his alley on his patterns of your life with him, right? But you're gonna be like, I don't know. It kind of it tickled me a little funny, like I don't know.
I could see though, with it being her brother, um, how they could be like you said, orange flags. Because no one ever thinks their brother's going to do something like that, but they might still be setting off alarm bells. But in the back of your head, you're still going to think, my brother would never do that.
Okay, but then they talk about the stuff that went on in the house growing up and things like that. Like we know that his mom, so there's this fascination with Ted Bundy, right? And his mom was had some bizarre fascination with Ted Bundy. And in my mind, it's like, how do we not assume, or maybe he was raised with his mom, just like all of us women, right? Or even men, we're all into this true crime stuff, and maybe his mom was really into Ted Bundy and read all of his articles and had maybe a little what is it called, like
A
a
shrine.
shrine, yeah, in the corner somewhere. And oh yeah, and she called him Theodore. She would only call him Theodore. Thank you, Natty. And 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 then we have his sisters who were perhaps just decent children, and then Brian was, from what we understand from this, from this case and the documents that have come out with his medical stuff, that he has some medical issues. He's on the spectrum. He has medical learning disabilities, this and that. So maybe he was always just kind of an annoyance in the house. But then mother had this shrine of Theodore that she kind of worshiped, and maybe Brian kind of was, I wish I could be more like Theodore, and then mother would pay attention to me better. You never know what just that one click in somebody's brain does, and that's where all these that's where they're that's where these murderers are all formed. There's something that happened, right? And maybe this was it with him. And he wanted to have mother pay attention to him, and I'll do it better. I'll make you proud of me, mother. I'll be the Theodore in your eyes. That's why he wants to be called Brian Christopher, and that's why he writes everything Brian C. Koberger, you know? And she would, even when Theodore was was carried off, and there's this whole, like, there was like this parade down the street for when he was going to be taken off for the death chamber and executed. His mother even wrote an article to not that it shouldn't be celebrated, that people should not celebrate the death of Theodore, and this and that. And so you could tell that she had something for him. So what if Brian wanted the attention that mother gave Theodore, and he wanted to be Theodore, right? Um,
Wait, so is this proven fact that she was obsessed with him?
well, it's
With,
proven
with
fact
Ted
that she
Bundy?
wrote, well, it's proven fact that she wrote articles about him. It's proven fact that she had, like, that she was interested in it. So yeah, that all of that is proven. Yeah, like I have those articles, like I have all of that. Yeah.
I never heard about that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And maybe if he talked to her about these crimes, then maybe that's when she paid attention to him. So that's when he made himself be interested in criminology and stuff like that too, because that's when mother finally gave him the attention. Because other than that, he was just a troublemaker. And then one thing led to another, and he wants to just prove to her. He wants to prove to mother, I will be better. Like, even and who knows, like dates and stuff like that. Just for example, the dates. He filed the petition for this on July 22nd of of this year. Last year he was sentenced on July 23rd of 2025. Ted Bundy, I think, was executed. I think the date is, I think it was either executed or something on July 24th. Like, is that on purpose? That he filed this on the 22nd. Last year, this happened to him on the 23rd, and then Bundy, I believe, was executed on the 24th, you know? Um,
Yeah, that is weird.
and and we also know that leading up to, or not, well, it could be leading up to his arrest or uh, preceding the murders, he he looked up a lot of like shows or documentaries about Ted Bundy, especially on, I believe, September 28th. Like there was like a he was convicted on Bundy was convicted on the 24th. So 22nd was Koberger's writes this paper or does this petition last year, Koberger 23rd, and then 24th for Bundy. Like there's just this number thing. But on the 28th of September of 23, like there was just this chronological order of how Koberger was looking things up every day leading to his arrest or like during a certain time frame, and Bundy had a lot to do with that. Bundy was almost like that's who he was emulating. Bundy also, I think, dressed as a police officer and went to the press conferences and just mingled within, the citizens to act like the others to get more information on on his own cases. And if people remember, we think that Brian Koberger entered the group, my group that I had, as Papa Roger. And the the documentaries that Brian Koberger watched on the 28th of September were exactly about when Bundy was putting himself in the public, like as an officer or as, just a concerned member of society, just to learn more about his own case. And those were the dates of when Koberger was watching those contents. And then on September 29th is when Papa Roger was formed and born and entered the group. So is that coincidence? I don't think so.
Yeah, I still want to know their statement about Papa Roger not being Brian was just way too vague for me. Um, I don't know. They didn't give enough detail to like dismiss it ever.
Right. And even in this, in the interview that Brian Enton had with Cy Ray, Cy Ray even talks about how when they went through Koberger's belongings, like when they went through his apartment and his computers and this and that, how they learned that a lot of his software, hardware, or software, I'm not sure if I'm saying the right words, like his computer wear, right? His towers and stuff, that he had like hardware in there that it was so advanced or something that he could just wipe out any information from prior, and that's why it was so hard for them to, like, excuse me, find out like a lot of like the premeditation and his plans and what he was doing, where he was, and this and that, because he was so ahead of the game and had it so wiped out so good that they couldn't even break the code. They couldn't even figure it out. So when the question was asked during that final presser after the sentencing last year, when they said, so, there was this character named Papa Roger, do you guys know who it was? And they're like, yeah, we looked into it. It was nobody. We don't, it was just somebody, this and that. Well, again, did they put into account that he knows how to wipe everything out? It can just go like that in a second, and
Yeah.
that account is one of them that went out in a second like that. It doesn't exist. It's gone. And then in July of, oh my gosh, so July of 2023, the courts asked for Meta. They asked, they did a motion, right, to be able to pull his Meta information from, Facebook. And once they did that motion, I don't know the right words for that right now, in July, and I think they had 30 days to be able to do that once it was granted. What do you think became alive for 24 hours during that time frame? The paparazzi account.
Mm,
24 hours. So in my mind, it's like
figures.
it's like they contacted Facebook and they're like, look, we have a subpoena, and because we're working on this case, and we have this Meta thing, and we have these dates from July 1 to July whatever. We need to access so and so's Meta account. How do we do this? And this is my own opinion, and I think Meta said, all right, how does July, and I'm could be wrong on the date. Honestly, I think it was like July 27th, to be honest with you. How does July 27th look? And maybe the courts were like, that works. And they said, what we can do is give you 24-hour access. We're gonna, maybe it's just like a pin, and they undo the pin, like back in the day, like when you had to call somebody, they're like, hey, Sally, we got, Roger from over there calling. Like maybe they just undid the pin for 24 hours, and then after 24 hours they put it back in, and that's it, because it was literally active for 24 hours. Nobody's able to explain that to this day. Nobody. And if you can, call me, because
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see, what else? So the other thing that Cyree mentioned, is that he says he can prove that Brian was either in, at, or near the home prior to the murders. But how he can prove this, maybe I missed it. So if somebody that watched it knows that answer, let me know, because I don't remember. I don't remember. What is Martha? I'm sorry, I just missed what Martha said. Cy said today he went south for a reason. He went south all right. Yeah, he did good. That interview was fantastic. Like truly, it was fantastic.
Which interview was it?
It was Brian Enton today.
Oh, the one you told me about.
So the question was, Cyree says he can prove that Brian Kohberger was in, at, or near the house prior to the murders. And he was saying like, that he thinks that Brian was there, like kind of, just mingling, and that he was there amongst other people, and that he was just unnoticed. And as much as I appreciate the interview, and I think Enton and Cyree and all of them did a fantastic job, for me, that is just one thing that I'm having a hard time, because I think Brian Kohberger is such a unique, different type of person with the way he walks and carries himself. And because he doesn't have a lot of like a friend base, that to me, I think somebody, especially by now, 3 years, 8, 9 months later, somebody would be like, I remember that guy, because he had nobody to talk to,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's true though.
But I mean, I can't argue with a professional. So I thought it was really nice how Cyree apologized to the Gonzalez's over and over again. I mean, he felt so bad, and he didn't do anything wrong. He was just doing his job, and at the end, we still don't know. Like, there was never any trial, so it's not like he went up on the stand and and went against everything and said, Brian is innocent. He never did that. He was saying right from the jump that he really was at conflict, that he didn't think he could follow through with that. Um, so yeah. Heather says Cyree was more talking about them crossing paths in public places. He has the data. Yeah, yeah, he was so genuine. He was also talking about them crossing paths at the A&W gas station down the road. Um, so he said something about that as well. I don't know which one that was. Is that the gas station towards the village, the A&W? Does anybody know? Okay, right down the road from the house. Okay. I see. All right. So TCB, what's going on with Nancy today?
Well, we got there's a new interview coming out. What is the guy's name? Someone from ABC. There's an interview coming out tomorrow, although I don't know what time it's at. But he did post a clip or two. I believe it was 2 clips, but he was saying that he interviewed Nanos, and he asked him, like, are the 2 people that were first detained, Carlos and Luke, if they are cleared, to which Nanos responded and said, nobody is completely cleared. So I'm really confused by that statement. But we also, at least in my opinion, know that Nanos isn't the best at speaking. He says a lot of things that I think he doesn't mean. So I've honestly been waiting all day for Pima County to correct that statement and put out a tweet saying, hey, like, this isn't what he meant, or this isn't what I meant. What we just meant was the 2 people that they were being asked about. But it was just his wording that was weird. But so I ended up tagging a couple of my favorite reporters, asking them, we need to know why he said nobody is cleared. And Michael Ruiz, who is one of my faves, he commented and said that he's going to be posting about it soon, but I'm still waiting on, let me see. I don't think I've been checking this whole time to see if he's said anything about it, but it doesn't look like he has. And then we also know that the rootless hair came back as not a match to anyone that could be a suspect, whatever that means.
Yeah, so I just think that that's such a weird play on words. Like, it came back to nobody that could be a suspect. Like, so that means it doesn't that means they do have a DNA profile.
Did you read the article I sent you?
Of course I didn't.
Okay, so you have, yeah, I don't understand it either.
Right.
The hair was done, and this is a quote by Sheriff Nanos. The hair was done, and there was nothing. No.
Can you link it in the comments? The article?
Let me see.
And then I think that Carlos is suing Pima County now, right?
Yeah, for like 3.4 million, I believe. And honestly, good for him.
Hmm. Christy says if the Guthries don't have a problem with him, why does everyone else? I always follow the family's lead and feel like they know much more than we do for whatever reasons. I think you're right, Christy.
What did she say? I'm sorry, I'm looking for this
Christy
link.
said if the Guthries don't have a problem with him, why does anyone else? I always follow the family's lead and feel like they know much more than we do for whatever reasons. If the
But
Guthries don't have a problem with nanos, I assume, right, Christy?
I think they do. There was an article put out not long ago that um, Savannah specifically wasn't happy with them.
Hmm.
I mean, Savannah also, like, it's not like she's going to be preaching about it. I mean, I've been following his every single word for the last 6 months. And I mean, I feel like it's okay for me to not like him because the way that he speaks is so he just contradicts himself all the time. But I also, like, I respect your opinion. I know a lot of people, are protective of him. Not protective, but more so feel like he shouldn't be bashed. But for me, he just makes it hard to not bash him. But that's just my opinion.
Right. Yeah. I think I read too also that something with Banfield today that she was texting with him and then now now they're not ever like they're not messaging anymore.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, that's the one. Um, Wait, did you say that came out today?
I know I saw it today. I don't know when it came out, but I know I saw
Yeah,
it, but I don't know when it came.
that that's the one that I was referring to
Oh,
actually,
okay.
where he where they say that, she's not getting as much communication from them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just put the link in the
Oh, okay.
comments. So yeah, me too,
Heather,
Nat. I can't
maybe
stand
why
that dude.
her? Why Heather? What happened with her? And then Natty says, but he's still not the one that created the mess. That's true. But I do think that he needs to do more like a community outreach and like speak more on this and give updates and be like, look, like give it one way or another. So people, like, I just think people are kind of like walking around like aimlessly, like the Walking Dead over there. Like they're like, we don't, what do we do? Like, do we help? Don't we help? Do they want something? Don't like make it like make an announcement, give a presser, give some kind of, speech or leeway to your community to let everybody know that we have this under control. We're following some sort of protocol. We're doing, XYZ every day. Uh, from morning to night or whatever, and thank you, but no thank you kind of thing to kind of push it aside and not have all this negativity constantly rolling around and then maybe give it, maybe push this aside for like 2 weeks and maybe if people quiet down for like 2 weeks, let's see what they can do. Let maybe they'll do something. Maybe if we back off, not so much we, it's not like we're the ones causing issues, but like, what if, nothing happens and then in 2 weeks they say, all right, thanks for giving us room to breathe. Look what we were able to do with that. Thanks for the room. We don't know because right now I feel like they're being suffocated with all this because any move they make, they're being criticized like it's like a spectacle and they need to like concentrate on this missing woman, but they're just being like criticized so terribly. I'm not sure, like.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting though in the article. Um, Hair found in Nancy Guthrie's home not linked to suspect in abduction. And like we talked on the phone about this earlier, and you were like, well, how could it point to a suspect if they don't have one?
Right,
But then again, we also know how the news does. They do like catchy articles for clicks.
right.
So people will read it. But then it continues on saying testing on hair found at the Tucson, Arizona home of the Today Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother is complete and does not point to a suspect in the 84-year-old's abduction. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos told ABC News on Thursday. So what does that would that the only thing that that could mean is that it was Nancy's,
Or like maybe one of the, somebody that works there,
someone
somebody
who's already
they
been cleared.
associate it to. Yeah.
But then in the same interview, he says nobody is cleared. And that's why I can't stand him because he just doesn't, he's just not a good speaker. I feel like he just doesn't need to talk ever.
Yeah. Yeah. But he has to. He has to right now because that's his position, and that whole community is like they're desperate, and he's the only one that is in that position to give them the answers. What about who's their mayor?
I have no idea.
Like, why isn't their mayor supposed? Is that how? Like, why isn't anything like that happened?
No idea, to be honest.
Heather says Enton says today that there are no new leads, and like we haven't heard anything new, and it's almost like every month they have to give something like like they have to shake it up to make everybody think that, oh, we've been working on it, guys, don't worry. And then in several, like by Monday we're going to find out, yeah, it was nothing, just like when they said that, there was new information from these um the the called the ransom letters, and oh, she's buried now, and they were like, we're going to find all this stuff out, and then by the turn of the week we just found out that they just needed to give us all something to get excited about because they had nothing else to give us, and I think that's just what this is again. Like, they got nothing.
Yeah, and one of my friends brought up today too that like a lot of information has been coming out in the last week. And I truly just think that that's because it's the 6 month mark. Like Enton being back there, I think is another indicator of that. It's just because it's the 6 month mark. And I think Nano's doing the interview is also just because it's the 6 month mark. I don't think that there's anything like
Exactly.
breaking.
Exactly. It's just like it's a staple, right? Like they're gonna have to, like I was saying, it's like every month or something, and now it's like a 6 month. So then maybe again, then in the 9 month we'll see something, and then the 12 month, and then after that will be not again until the 18 month, and then it's just all gonna, it's sad.
Just trickle away.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
What do you think about the Savannah message the other day?
Um, I think it's kind of the same thing as to what you were just saying too with the 6 month kind of thing. Like, it's probably like, and I don't mean this in a negative or a bad way, but it's almost like, she's got all this other stuff coming up on her calendar, and maybe her assistant or something was like, and don't forget, it's a 6 month, timeline or anniversary of when your mom was abducted, and she was like, well, I better get that video out of the way because Friday I got whatever else going on. So it's almost like process of got to get my stuff taken care of. I hate to say it, but it just seemed like it had to have been done because it was a 6 month time. What did we hear in that message that we haven't heard yet? We heard all the same words: agony, we need her back, tell us where, all the same words. aren't they? I mean, if you heard some other words that we haven't heard yet, tell me, right?
I don't know. To me, it was something was different about it.
Right, and that's why I think it was something to get out of the way. And that's why I think she just regurgitated the same words that she knew because it was just, oh, what do I gotta do? Oh, okay, I gotta get that. That's why I don't know. I mean, did you feel there was more passion behind it? Did you feel like, what am I, like, tell me if I'm on a different wave here
I
versus
just,
what you think?
I don't, to me, it just felt like it was directed at someone very specific, but
That's
I
what
just
it
don't, I
is.
don't know, I don't know
Directed at
who.
somebody specifically. And yeah, and I can understand that too, but and that's kind of what, and I can understand that too, and I don't disagree at all. I think that's all correct. But I also think that's what she's been doing since the second, since the February, I think February 6th video from after the second ransom came out, because I think that's where she knew the specifics of where this is all stemming from. And that's why she's leaving these little certain words, which is words we heard before, and it's a message, it's some message, it's a calling card, it's a response to the calling card.
One specific thing I can think of right now that just kind of set off alarm bells in my brain, which there was a couple, but the one that I'm specifically thinking of was she said it was something along the lines of help us. Like, God, I need to find it. It was like we like I always believe that no matter what we've done,
Mm.
and like she was like, I know that you have tried to do the
I
good
think I
thing.
know when she said we have done our part.
Well, that was another one.
That part stuck out to me. Like, we have done our part, which is what? What is your part? Can we be privy to that?
I know, I wish.
What is your part? And is this part that is your part, is it something that was asked of you in these ransoms? Like, are you responding to something that was in the letter and you're saying, okay, like if they said, hey, hold up a highlighter next to your ear. So she's saying, we've done our part, now do yours. So is that what she's responding to? Because to us, it's just, we don't, how are we going to help if we don't? That's why, again, it just seems like it's a personal, they're just talking to each other, but using the cameras for their advocacy. Heather said, it's never too late to do the right thing. That part too. Joanna
My
says Anna looked totally exhausted. Yeah, and like she's lost a lot of weight. I've noticed that. It must be horrible to not know where her mom is. I know it's terrible.
Okay, so the quote I'm thinking of was at the very end, and she says, help us bring this situation to an end for all of us. No matter where we've been and what we've done, I believe there is always a way home. And just, I don't know, something about that wording was so interesting to me because I believe there is always a way home.
Hmm, interesting.
That that's very, I don't know, and like I will be honest, I definitely overanalyzed this. I listened to it like 100 times in regular speed and in slow motion because I was just trying to, pick it apart and figure out like if there's something that's missing because I saw that
Mm-hmm.
um, Mike Ruiz posted that someone at the Today Show reported that it could have been a message because of a new communication that no one knows about.
Hmm.
And so I'm picking it apart all night, just listening to it over and over again. And there's just something about no matter where we've been and what we've done, I believe there is always a way home. It's just very specific and strange to me, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. Yeah, it was very cryptic, Wendy. Oh, hey, Wendy. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Um, I had another really bizarre theory, but do you want me to share it?
Of course.
It's kind of like out there.
I love
But
it.
um, so we know that Charles Guthrie, he was part of the mining, right? Like he was a miner, and he passed away from a heart attack when he was in his like, late 40s, right? I don't know all of the details because I didn't prepare to talk about this part. So, um, but he died like mid 46, I think, and he died in Sonora. So, so he died in Mexico. So his death certificate is in Spanish, and part of it, like, so when it's presented, it says state of Sonora. Like if you translate it, it's just in Spanish, but um, I'm sure that they have, the family has it, translated in English and whatever. But for us, when we look it up, we'll see it in Spanish. And either way, he passed away in Sonora, and he passed away during one of his mining expeditions. And while he was away, he died of a heart attack. Okay, so there's that little bit of information. So this is just something I was thinking about, and knowing how Nancy is and how she like how she's just like community driven, and how she wants to be a part of, helping others, helping other families, religious, all of that. What if, and this is just a theory, right? What if back then, when her husband passed away, that she kind of got herself involved with other families that were mining families that had lost a loved one in the same situation, whether it was a mining accident or a heart attack or something, but still a mining family kind of situation, right? And what if, and this is before social media, before any of that, but what if Nancy kind of felt lost? She had her three young children, and what if she felt lost and kind of made a community for these mothers or wives or sisters or whatnot to kind of come together and talk because of their loved ones that passed away. And typically what we would kind of assume from back then, that the miners were men, so they would be the breadwinners, right? Can we agree on that? And so these
Yeah.
women now are kind of at a, at a desperation, that what are we going to do now? Our husbands, our loved ones, and they kind of come together to just like we do, just like we do now, with these groups on Facebook, with this or that, it's just kind of the same concept, but before social media. And because this happened in Sonora in Mexico, and here she's the American, and what if she was the one that had the better means, financially, and she kind of put this together, and what if they met every Tuesday, and she was the one that brought coloring books for the children, and baked goods for everybody to snack on, and coffee, because she had the means to do so. And this kind of carried over years and years and years, and it kind of established a community. But then her children, meaning Annie, Cameron, and Savannah, they wanted to go to high school, college, and but yet mom is still meeting with these people from the mines and whatnot, and they're like, and the kids are like, mom, you got to pay attention to us now. Like, we get it that you needed to do this back when dad passed away and we were little, and you needed a sense of friendship and community, but like, we need you now. Like, we're going to school. You got to come and take us to the prom. We need, and maybe there was like some kind of you know, a crossroads of like her wanting this community, but the kids were like, no, mom, we need you. And then it carries over to they move out. She's got the casita and all this. And then that's why they have Annie move closer because maybe Savannah and Cameron's like, dude, mom will not stop. Like she is inviting. You remember that? You remember those people when we were 5 years old? You should see the people she's got staying at the casita now. You know, and maybe they were like, she's got to stop. And they just wanted her to stay away from this because it was getting carried away. The needs that people wanted from her because of this and that. And, and they just wanted it over. And that's why, long story short, when Cameron got to the house, he knew right away. When he talked to Savannah, he said, sweetie, this is a ransom for mom for killing. They want money. He knew right away. And he knew because there is a history of this. There is a history of some contention of some organization or something. And they knew this was kind of coming along the way and it kind of like boom, it happened. And I think that's kind of why they're calling the silver platter. I handed it to you on a silver. You guys knew that's where the silver platter comes in. The sweetie, him saying sweetie. We know what this is. And that's why when everybody's saying it sounds like Savannah's talking to somebody directly. It's because she is. She is. You know, Lavin, I swear to God, if you're laughing at me, that's him eating that apple. But yeah,
This is a very detailed conspiracy, and I love
yeah,
that
and
for
I
you.
think what if it's all like, I mean, and it's huge, it's convoluted, it's out there. I mean, sometimes people say, you know, the answer's right in front of us. This is not one of those, the answer's right in front of us. This is one of those, it is decades and decades behind us and, you know, under us and all that. But it's just still something I was thinking about because, like, you know, because in one of the letters and when they sent that they said state of Sonora, and that's what it says in his death certificate. It says state of Sonora, so that's how it happened in my brain.
Hey, it works. We all have theories.
Yeah, so Heather says many people believe the ransoms are written by someone who English is not their first language. Yeah, I agree. And that's why I think they continue to say the silver platter. And there's some other tell signs of
Excuse me,
that
guys.
too. Hold on. I just want what's fair and to live peacefully with enough to start my life again quietly without having to join witness protection family. Like, okay, anybody that really knows the system and the witness protection program and all that knows that this is just not even real, like at all. This is somebody that
Yeah,
is familiar with America, period. Like, let's just start there.
but that one is also written by a different person than the first two.
Could be.
I don't believe those to be real. I believe the first two are real in a sense that they came from whoever was involved in kidnapping her.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily believe that the kidnap for ransom was the actual goal. I think this was premeditated, and the ransom was just to throw people off. That's just my theory, though.
Yeah.
And to me, the first two ransom notes come off as extremely manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Hey Savannah is manipulative in a way that I'm not sure I can understand, but or that I can explain, but I think because saying, hey, Savannah, and this is just my theory, I think that whoever wrote it wrote, hey, Savannah, we have your mother, because they wanted it to look like it was because of Savannah, because she's famous and she's rich,
Mm-hmm.
when that wasn't the actual goal. It's always come off that way to me. With that being said, I don't know who I believe wrote them, but I genuinely don't believe that it has anything to do with Savannah. I think it was made to look like that.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know. You have a very valid point too. We just don't
Yeah.
know. I just thought of something and I lost it. Um, darn it, I forgot it. Okay, so there's the Carlos lawsuit. There's the Savannah. Oh wait, you were saying that it could look like it wasn't to her? Say that again.
What I said,
Yeah, there was something about that.
I believe the first letter that said, Savannah, we have your mother. I
Oh,
believe that was a ploy to make it seem like it was something having to do with Savannah, like a
I
Savannah.
remember. Okay, I remember. I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
Okay,
you're fine. I was just trying to remind you.
yeah, it had absolutely nothing to do with that. Okay, I have another theory. Are you ready?
Let's hear it, sister. I'm ready.
Okay, so, um, the porch guy, all right? So, what we all remember is we have a couple images, right? Like on February 10th, we were released this image of porch guy arriving, right?
Hmm.
Okay. And he has a backpack on, he has a mask on, he has a gun facing his kibbles and bits, right? Uh, Downwards. And he has gloves on. He's got some zip all the way to his neck, and that's pretty much what we know about him, right? And he shows up on the 10th. Then shortly after that, we have like a quick video of this guy. And then um, within, I don't remember the timeline, but within a day or something, we get a still image of the same person, from what we assume, and he shows up. This is this other one. This is the one with the backpack. And we get a still image of the guy showing up in front of the door, but he doesn't have the backpack or the gun pointing towards his most precious area, right? Remember that?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So there was all this, all these people, all this theories, all this, information coming out that this first picture, this first surveillance is from January 31st, or that evening, going into February 1st, when they were originally abducting Nancy Guthrie. And then the second one, the still image of this perp without, he still has the mask on, but he doesn't have the backpack or the gun, that apparently is from January 11th, and that he was scouting the neighborhood, and that this is from another date. When I was in Tucson, I was there for about a week. I went there, I think, the 19th or 20th of February. So at this point, we had already had this information for about 10 days. And I was told by very reliable sources, which I thought at that point, they told me, not that they were not good sources, but this is the information they were told as well from the FBI, that the still image of the guy without the backpack and the gun, that image was from the day before, meaning January 30th. So here we have this image that was released on February 10th, and it was like a few seconds long of the guy with the backpack packed to the max and the gun. And then we know that this was July or January 31st, and then a still image. And then I was told that that was from the day before, January 30th. But then, as time is going, all this, we're then told that, oh no, this guy was scouting the neighborhood. He came on January 11th, and that still image of him with the back or no backpack and no gun is from the 11th. I disagreed 100%. Still to this day, do not believe it. So now, my theory from that is when he came and did this, I think, because remember the back door was held open by the flower pots.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think he's already in that, so he's in the house. Backpack and gun is removed, and the still image is him going back to the front door to, like, it's in that same night, and he's going to check that front door to see, like, oh shoot, we got to bring her out through this door because we can't bring her out through the back door because she's not going to fit. She's kicking and screaming, and there's dogs barking back here, and we can't bring her around. That's too much. And that's why he's already had all that removed, and they had to go for a quick exit, and he had to open that door so they can prop that front door open and remove her that way. And I think
Yeah.
that is taken at the same time, and I don't think that's taken at all different times, like other people think. I think that's just too messy. There's too many moving parts. The easy answer is all those pictures are taken on the same day. Why
You
they
think you think the January 11th was taken on a different day or on the same day?
We don't have any proof that there's a picture from January 11th. We don't have any timestamp. We only have guesses, and that was that still image of this. And they said, oh, that was taken January 11th. But like I said, I was told when I was there by very good sources that that was from January 30th, the one without the backpack and gun. And even that they couldn't get a solid answer on. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, they're saying it's from January 11th and just this lingering photo, and he's wearing the exact same thing from January 11th. No, I think that picture is from the same night, and he already took everything off because they realized they couldn't bring her through the back door. They had to bring her through the front door, and they just showed us a different, picture of him for whatever reason.
I don't know. I'm sticking to January 11th because Brian Etten has made so many videos saying he has a very good source that says it's from January 11th. And Fox News put out something, I think, last week. What was the article about? But it was saying that the one picture was from 3 weeks prior. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I get it, and that's good. That's why
I trust Brian Etten with my life,
I know you
even
do.
though he doesn't know me.
Oh, Heather said, I heard from a very good source it's on the same night. Well, well, well.
Well, who are you, Heather? I'm kidding.
You better watch it.
Send me your contact.
Heather, it's my mod.
I know, I'm kidding.
It's my mama.
I know.
My goodness. Now I have to apologize,
Hello, I've spoken to her, remember?
of course. But yeah. Oh, is this Ricky? Is that Ricky that just said hi, Wendy?
It's the one and only.
Ricky, I think somebody owes you some Bluey coins.
I know, right, Wendy? Brian doesn't know us. He knows me because I harass him on X 24/7.
Brian knows me. I pretend that he knows me.
Yeah, Brian actually does know Alina. That's true.
Oh wait, Ricky just said what? Ricky, does somebody owe you Bluey coins? Because I'm here to tell you they don't exist.
Mm. Was that Natty that said that?
I don't know nothing. I'm only here to report on the crimes. Okay, so
Me too, Heather. He's my fave.
News Daddy.
News Daddy.
Oh, now Natty does have Bluey coins. Wow. All right, so does anybody else have any other questions? We're going on a little over an hour and a half here, and my bladder's letting me know that.
Go take a break and then let's talk about Lindsay Clancy.
All right. I don't know that much about that case. So I will let you have the floor while I go to the bathroom, okay?
Okay.
BRB.
All right, I will be here. Where is he? Let me text him, Natty. So, has anyone been watching the Lindsay Clancy case? He needs to sing to me first. Who, Ricky? Okay, you've been watching it, Heather? Yeah. I don't know how to feel about it, honestly. I saw a pretty good quote today, though. Yeah, I feel awful too for the ex, but I don't know. Part of me feels like, I don't know, I guess part of me just feels like, in a way, it's his fault, like knowing that she was having these thoughts about her children and leaving her with them. But that's not taking away the fault that I feel that she also, has. But let me see, where's this post? Okay. So I saw this post today that I thought was really well written. Um, suggesting that Clancy may legally be not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect is not the same as defending her hideous conduct. Not everything in the law is black and white. Shades of gray often exist in serious and complex criminal cases. And I think that that was so, like, just such a good post, honestly, because it just makes so much sense. Yeah, exactly, Nat. So, yeah. Hey, Eva.
Hey.
So, I just thought that was like a really beautifully written, no matter where you are, like how you feel on it. Yeah, I just thought that it was, hey, Pate. So, yeah, I was just reading this post, Alina.
Mm-hmm.
Someone made this post on X about the Lindsay Clancy case. You know, like a little bit about it, right?
A little bit, yeah.
She killed her 3 young children and is claiming she's not claiming she didn't do it. She's just claiming like that she did it because she was going through psychosis.
Right.
And it's a very controversial subject, rightfully so. I don't blame anyone for that. But someone posted today and said, suggesting that Clancy may legally be not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect is not the same as defending her hideous conduct. Not everything in the law is black and white. Shades of gray often exist in serious and complex criminal cases. And I just thought that that was such a good quote,
Yeah, it is.
especially with such a controversial case.
Right.
Because I feel like you can still hate her. You can still know that what she did was wrong, but still consider the fact that maybe she was in psychosis. But I mean, you can also just think that she was evil, and there's nothing wrong with that.
How did you kill them?
She strangled them with exercise bands. And then, so she took one of her children to the pediatrician that day.
Mm-hmm.
And like the baby or the child, the daughter, her stomach had been hurting.
Too.
Yeah. And she needed Pedialyte. So she calls CVS. She sends her husband to CVS. She also looks to see how far away this restaurant is. And, you know, it's like a certain amount of minutes away. She sends her husband off. When he leaves, she takes them down to the basement, all three of her children, and she strangles them with exercise bands, which is horrible. And then she goes upstairs into her kitchen, grabs a knife, slits her wrists. She fills her cup with a bunch of pills and drinks it, and then she jumps out of a window. And she also slit her throat too before she jumped out the window. So she's now paralyzed, but there's a lot of controversy because she's like been going through all these treatments, but then like on day one of trial, because you know they're arguing that this was premeditated. And Lindsay,
Yeah.
how old was she? Do you remember Pate? I'm not sure of her exact age. I want to say she was like 34, but I could totally be wrong. Yeah, she was also a labor and delivery nurse. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, like 33. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, 33 or 34. So yeah, there's just, you know, it's crazy because she had been going to get treatment for all these, but you should see the list of medications that she was on. And like I want to say it was like the 4 months prior to her doing it, but it's insane, the amount of medication she was on. But in the first day of trial, they opened up by stating, okay, she took this medication, she took this one and this one and this one, and she only took 3 out of this one. She only took 3 out of this one. She only took 3 out of this one. She only took 5 out of this one. So it's like she never really gave it a chance for any of them to start working. And I think that's where a lot of it gets so controversial because it's hard to understand. Well, for one, she'd expressed that she was feeling like hurting her children.
Oh.
And keeping herself around her children in itself is alarming, but her husband also knew. And him letting her stay around the children is alarming as well. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird case that I just don't know how to feel about it. I feel bad for her husband, and I feel bad. I, of course, feel the worst for her children. But I just don't know how to feel about it, honestly.
And what's her husband's stance? Like, how is he?
He's sticking beside her, even though they're divorced now, and he's married to someone else.
No. No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's
And he's
he
remarried and has a kid already, and he's standing by her side. So he must like honestly like understand what he experienced at home with her to know that the psychosis was in full effect, and he probably burdens himself with not recognizing it enough to do something about it because I mean, he's suffering too. I mean, these were his children.
Well, it could be, but if you're the devil's advocate, you could also argue because they have a malpractice suit going on right now because of the treatment. So is he just sticking beside her to win the malpractice suit? I mean, it's just a theory, but you know,
And what's the malpractice suit involve? Like that she was over medicated or just not followed through on? What is it?
just that she wasn't followed through on.
Hmm. Heather says that some of her bottles were. So Lavin says, but those pills that the doctor changed the strength, she only took a few that didn't work. That clarified on cross-examination. And then I thought I saw Heather say something about that it was debunked. Heather, what was debunked?
I wouldn't say all of it was debunked because a lot of them she didn't take. She only would take 3 of them. And most of them were medications that you have to take for 6 weeks. And I know that for a fact because I've taken them before when I was going through postpartum. Um, because, like, in opening statements, that was one of the huge deals. She laid them all out, she brought them out and said, you know, look at this, there's only 3 missing. And the prosecutor was asking, like, did you know that your wife only took 3 of these? And the husband had no idea.
Yeah.
And there was like a list of them. There was, I want to say there was at least like 5 medications that were supposed to be helpful to this.
Um, what amount is their lawsuit for? Do you know?
I do not. What did Eva say? I want to hear all the experts testify on both sides first. I think a lot more is going to come out about her, though. The state obviously feels they have a case after looking at everything. Yeah, and Eva also keeps bringing up something that was said in the beginning, which was that Lindsay seemed very controlling because she had the children's bedtimes down to a T, like down to the second. The time that they went to sleep and the time that they woke up.
Wait, say that part again. She had what down?
Their bedtimes
Oh, okay.
down, yeah, like down to the second.
Mm-hmm.
Like from the time that they went to sleep to the time that they woke up.
I mean, I call that a routine. No, I'm just kidding. Um, sleep was
Nerdy said, as of now, neither Lindsay Clancy's medical malpractice suit nor Patrick Clancy's wrongful death suit or medical negligence lawsuit specifies a dollar amount in damages. Sleep was timed to the minute.
We are learning more
I'm gonna
details in
try
the
to
case
play
of the Massachusetts woman, in the case of the Massachusetts woman
the
accused
911
of killing her
tape.
3 children. Warren, some
Yeah,
of the were about to show. Jurors heard the 911 call made by Lindsay Clancy's ex-husband and his reaction to finding their children dead. CBS News correspondent Chanel Call has the story.
The house is really quiet. Is really quiet.
Is that
Can you guys
unusual?
hear it?
Yeah.
Day 2 of this trial began with prosecutors asking Lindsay Clancy's ex-husband to describe the moment he returned home on January 24th, 2023.
I just saw blood everywhere. It looked like it was sprayed almost with like a hose.
Patrick Clancy says he found his wife Lindsay in the backyard. after jumping from their bedroom window.
She said I tried to kill myself. I said, where are the kids?
And what was her response?
She said they're in the basement.
Patrick was excused from court before his chilling 911 call was played for jurors. Lindsay Clancy seemed sobbing as she heard that call for the first time. In it, Patrick is heard shrieking and wailing for several minutes as he discovers his 3 children in the basement with these exercise bands wrapped around their necks. The operator asks what happened. Patrick responds, "Oh my God, I need help in the basement. She killed the kids."
Helen's pajamas.
When prosecutors held up the clothing the children wore the night they died, Lindsay looked away. Days after the children died, Patrick says he spoke to Lindsay on the phone.
She said she heard a man's voice telling her that if she didn't do it now, she would lose her chance.
Defense attorney Kevin Reddington cross-examined Patrick Clancy, who testified that her mental health deteriorated in the months leading up to the tragedy, adding that he left Lindsay alone with the kids several times in the weeks before the killings.
If she wanted to kill the kids, she certainly could have done it that time when you're out, right?
In theory.
And following that 911 call, paramedics were called to this court behind me to check on a juror who was experiencing severe anxiety. Those jurors today also saw some notes that Lindsay Clancy had taken, detailing her reaction to...
Okay, well, that didn't play it. Let me see if I can find it here. No, that's not.
What are you looking for?
I was trying to see if I can find the 911 call.
I don't
Here.
know. Was it ever released?
Hold on, I think I have it.
Neck laceration. She's conscious.
Wait.
47 Summer Street. Respond with the police. Male party across the top floor of the house. Slice her wrist as well. And neck injuries. Neck laceration. She's conscious at this time. We're going to check with MedFlight. It was over a 20-foot fall.
It's unknown where the knife is or wherever she used to slit her. She's in the, it looks like they're pinging around the back. We'll get that info now.
She did use a knife at first. Unknown where that is at this time. I'm on the way. We're with the county. As a 2 pediatrics arrest. We got to meet you late on the way.
You are hearing the 911 calls, at least part of them, because the initial one
I'm seeing if there's
ordered
more.
really found by it back and forth between law enforcement own
I guess that's
8
it.
in that mommy made a plan. The defense is digging in. This is not just postpartum depression. It's
I don't think the 911 call hasn't been released, just like bits of it, and like transcripts from reporters that were in the courtroom.
Mhm.
Thank God, because I don't think I could handle hearing that.
Yeah. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's sad. I don't know how to feel about that case. I'm so like back and forth.
It reminds me of that. I don't remember her name now. That one woman.
A-
that drowned-
Andrea Yates.
Yeah, Yates that drowned her children. Yeah.
Yes, I want to say Ashley Banfield did an interview, I think with Andrea Yates' attorney,
Really.
and they said that it was like identical.
Really.
Hmm.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
Chloe says, where the heck is the jury going tomorrow? I thought they viewed the house on day 2, but I heard the judge talking about a view tomorrow. Are they going somewhere else or to the house? So they're going somewhere tomorrow. Does anybody know?
I didn't watch it today. I need to catch up. I think they are going to the house tomorrow.
Um,
Is DT Mike's in here?
Jay Lavin says, do you think she will testify? What do you guys think?
I don't know. I've been wondering that. I feel like she won't, but I could be wrong.
Just based on the little that I saw on that clip and when they were talking about it and with the husband on the stand and with her, shielding her head away and all of that, based on that, no, I don't think she will. Absolutely not. No, I think
No.
she had a psychotic break. I really do. And now it's all, it probably is continuously replaying for her and with all these, listening to her having medications prescribed to her and this and that, then there's most definitely a significant cry for help, and it was on deaf ears and at the cost of 3 lives. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, there's just so much more to it though, where if you like really get all of the facts, if I knew that we were going to talk about it tonight, I would have had like, a whole outline ready to tell you about it. But it's just, there's just so much that makes you like, go back and forth. Like, did she plan this or did she not? There's just like very certain things that she did, but also, I went to my psychiatrist the other day and I asked him about it. And I asked him, like, because he knows that I have a true crime page. So every time I see him, he always asks, how's it going? So I told him I'm covering this case right now and like that I'm following it. And I asked him about it. And he was like, it can totally happen. It's like extremely rare, but he doesn't know enough about the case to like make a judgment on it at the same time. But I don't know, part of me just thinks that this was like an extremely rare case. But of course, like, I don't think that means she needs to be free. I still think, she needs to be in a hospital at the least, for the rest of her life. But the problem is I think they get like 6 months. Every 6 months, they're able to get out.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just such a hard topic because like postpartum mental health is so complex.
It really is, and I don't think it has enough attention on it. It really doesn't. Jeannie answered our question from earlier, and they are going to the house, CVS, and the restaurant he picked up their order from. Thank you, Jeannie.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they're doing that tomorrow?
Mm-hmm. The 911 call will not be made public from what Chloe has told me. Thank you, Chloe. It's just sad, and hold on. Heather says they're timing it how long it took him. Oh, that's interesting.
Okay, so another weird thing too that I learned on day 1 of the trial is, so she sent him off to CVS and to the restaurant. And so she takes the kids down, she kills them, and then she's in the kitchen. He tries to call her. She doesn't answer, but at some point they're on the phone for 14 seconds before she slits her wrists or her throat or jumps out the window. And he says, or the prosecution says, that she acted completely normal after she just killed her kids and right before she went to kill herself.
She acted normal according to the husband, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed, Ava.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like I was just saying, like it's just not, there's not enough attention on it. There's not enough research, there's not enough sympathy, there's not enough knowledge for even husbands when, you know, when somebody's having a baby, husbands, wives, you know, it doesn't matter who's having the baby, who's carrying the baby, it doesn't matter. But when you go in for those classes, they barely talk about this part of it, you know? They just don't explain that, oh, like the whole story ends with, and then you get to take the baby home and goodbye, see you later, now, you know, pay us. Pay me. And that's it, right? But there's a whole segment and a whole, you know, next chapter to where, well, now, once that baby's home, guess what? There's so much more that happens to you that you have to be aware of and be hyper, you know, hyper aware of, hypersensitive to, because things can really change for you and your family and your child and yourself and people around you. And we just don't have the knowledge, never have. And
Mm-mm.
even with all these cases, the Andrea Yates, the what was the one, the Smith, Susan Smith, years ago, like we should have had something, a shift in society for women after Susan Smith. We should have had a shift in society for women after Octomom. We should have had a shift in society for women after us 8. You know, but no, they just blamed the women for that and said, well, they're the ones that wanted that. Well, okay, but doesn't change the fact that that the hormones messed us up and we still have to care for the children, right? A guy
Yeah.
can get his dick hard and he gets medicine like that.
Yeah. That's so real. So honestly.
It's true.
But honestly, it is so true because, like, from my own experience with postpartum, granted, I didn't have postpartum psychosis, but I definitely had postpartum depression, and I'm pretty sure that I still have it, and my son is almost 4 years old. It's like I don't even know if you can have it that long, but it feels never ending. But anyway, that's besides the point. When it was really bad, like the first year of his life, you know, it's like you go to the doctor and they know that you've just had a baby 6 months ago. They know that you just had a baby 8 months ago, a year ago, and they don't even talk about it. Like I didn't even realize I had it until like my wife pointed it out to me a year after when I was still just struggling so bad. And I was like, I never even thought about that. And then I went to the doctor and I told them about it. And then they're like, oh, okay. But it's like, it was never actually like suggested to me.
Right.
And Amanda and I have Amanda in the comments have talked about this before because we have it in common. And yeah, it's so hard to get help, which is why I like part of my heart feels for her.
Mhm.
But then I also, you know, I didn't have psychosis and I just don't understand. I think her knowing for a while that she was feeling homicidal toward her children and continuing to stay around them instead of putting herself in a mental institution until she got better, I think that alone she deserves punishment for. Because if you knew that, you should have, when you were having regular moments, you should have put yourself somewhere away from the children. Because it's not normal to feel like you want to hurt your children.
Yeah, I understand, but we also don't, and I understand I'm just playing devil's advocate, and I don't know enough about her or her husband, but just with hearing that, I would have to know, and I'm gonna look more into this tonight, and I have it pulled up, I just haven't, to be honest, I'm blind as a bat, and I never printed it out to know enough about it, so that's why I never read up on it, so. But I would have to know more about her relationship with her husband and to know why she was afraid to stand up. And I think once, just for me personally, once I can learn more about the dynamics of that, I think I would be able to freely speak on that a little bit easier, knowing what that was like, and especially knowing too that he has moved on already and has a child already, already speaks to my my assumptions. So, and what are those assumptions? Oh, thanks for asking. Those assumptions are
Sorry,
that, no, that's okay. Are
my
that
throat is so dry.
he has, um, he probably had a lot to do in this whole thing, and he probably lived in the world of the 50s dynamics, the 40s and 50s dynamics of the women are responsible for everything while he just kicks back and, you know, and enjoys the luxuries of his female partner.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you say that too, because I have been saying that all along is what was going on um, behind the scenes with them. Where she felt like she just had to have so much control. And of course it could just be postpartum depression or psychosis. It could be, but it does make you wonder
Mm,
what else was going on. Like,
there's a reason for that, and yeah.
because I mean, he even said on the stand a couple days ago, like they asked him, did you know that she was having homicidal thoughts towards your children? And he said yes, but he continued to keep her around them. And like, did he just do that because it was just easier? Because I don't know. To me, I can't understand it. Like, because he said something along the lines of sometimes she seemed fine, sometimes she didn't. Sometimes she would say she was having bad thoughts, but there was other times where she just seemed like she was doing better. But it's like, that doesn't matter. You should have taken some kind of control, but like, I don't know. There has to be something that he could have done. And it's like, did he even try? And I'm not blaming him. Like, I'm blaming them equally
Yeah.
because she also should have known better than to keep herself around the children having those feelings. So I blame them both equally. I just don't know, you know,
Yeah.
it's such a fucked up case, honestly.
Yeah. I just and I'm even more intrigued now, and I think there's going to be more to look into with his like what's going on with him, what's his personality like, what's he like, what's his background, what's, you know, and I'm going to be intrigued with that, and we'll see. And we can reconvene here and see what we find.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. All right. Well, is there anything else?
No, let's just watch what happens tomorrow and then we can regroup.
Sounds good. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Don't forget to follow TCB, like, subscribe. Don't forget to follow Crime Scene Collective, like, subscribe. I have my TikTok channel, YouTube, Facebook, all of it. Same for TCB. Give her a like, follow, all of it. And if anybody has any other questions, let us know right now. I'll go through some other ones that are in here. Thank you to our mods, Heather and Chloe, for joining.
Yeah.
So much. I appreciate it. Let's see if I missed any questions in here.
Thanks for joining, everyone.
Natty says, I believe it's a combination of PND, psychosis, frustration between mental clarity. That's why I believe more people need to be held accountable for it. I agree. Absolutely. Chloe said she checked herself into an inpatient program weeks before the killing. She was discharged after a few days. legally they can't hold her unless she's in danger to herself or others. Do we get to know, like, if she checks herself in, does she have to say why, or is that just part of HIPAA that we don't get to know why then? Probably, right? I'm probably assuming.
Yeah, and so what Chloe's saying there is that's what makes me feel like, part of me just feels like Patrick and Lindsay should be held accountable because she should have known that she goes through having these thoughts, even when she's feeling okay. Like, she should know, like, I probably should not, like, she should have stayed there and been like, no, I don't want to be released. Like, I understand that they can't make her stay, but if she cared enough, I feel like she should have been like, no, I need to stay because I'm still actively having these thoughts. And that, I think that's where it just gets hard for me.
Yeah. Lavin says, so you think there's a theory she killed them with normal intent? I don't think so.
I don't, yeah, I mean, like, I don't,
think so at all.
yeah,
I don't think so.
I don't see any motive for that.
Natty says, I'm not saying she's still suffering PND today, just that she could have extended PND from first child to last. She had 3. By the 3rd, she ended up with psychosis. That's true. That can happen.
Yeah, very true.
Amanda says, I was blown off for so long. My husband is a paramedic and I have dealt with depression since high school. I'm so sorry, Amanda. My whole support system is keeping an eye out and it was still missed for 18 months. That's terrible.
Yeah, that's almost the same exact thing that happened with me.
See, that's awful. Well, we're sorry to hear that, Amanda. All right. Well, good night to everybody. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Don't forget to follow us, share us, subscribe us, like us, and we will see you next time around.
Yeah. Thank y'all.
Everyone, goodbye.